What's going on, y'all? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Y'all know it's Friday Eve. I don't know about y'all, but it's starting to feel like spring where I'm at. Just a little bit, not too much. Sun's going down a little later. Sun's coming up a little earlier, starting to warm up some. But of course, happy Friday Eve. It is Thursday. It's 6 p.m. Y'all know where we're at. Okay, we're here in the kitchen doing Afro cooking live. I'm super excited to share tonight's recipe with you guys. For the next few weeks, we'll be doing a series called the We Got Food at Home series, which is where we're doing some homemade versions of some very infamous foods from some fast food and carry out food chains. Tonight, we are doing Wingstop. So I'm going to show you guys how to break down chicken wings. I'm then going to show you guys how to fry them so that they're nice and crispy, but not to that, but so to the, I'm going to show you guys how to fry chicken wings so that they're nice and crispy, but they're not quite breaded. They'll be well seasoned. And then I'll be showing you guys how to make some lemon pepper. We're gonna toss them in those. I'll show you guys how to make some homemade ranch. And then of course Wingstop's fries are super good. But tonight I decided to make my own version of their corn nibblers. So we've got some corn that we broke up here that we'll be frying, and we'll be seasoning those up as well. So I see somebody just joined us. Welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's about 6:03. I'm gonna give it to about 6:05 before we get started. But in the meantime, let's show you guys some of our ingredients that we'll be using tonight. So here I have my chicken. It's already seasoned ahead of time. I seasoned this in a mixture of homemade Creole seasoning. So that's just a little bit of salt, pepper, the smallest bit of cayenne, some paprika, some garlic and onion powder. That's it. That's all. We left it here. We're letting that season itself up. Here, I left 2 wings out intentionally so I can show you guys how to cut these up, how to break them apart from whole wings into kind of the wingding pieces that you get from a lot of wing carryout spots. Here we have what's going to be our dry batter. We're not using a wet batter today. That's how we're going to achieve that nice crispiness, but not to the point where it's battered quite. So here I have 2 cups of flour and half a cup of cornstarch. As I already showed you guys, I went to my local grocery store. I got some pieces of corn that were whole. I then cut them up into these little bite-sized pieces. So here we have those. We've got some more of our homemade Creole seasoning that we're going to be using to season the rest of our chicken once we get it cut up. Like I said, I'm going to show you guys how to go about that first before seasoning it. We're also going to be seasoning our flour with this and a few other things. And then we have got some heavy whipping cream, some mayonnaise, some sour cream with chives because I love the way that this tastes. I know a few weeks ago when we started our Dishes of the Diaspora series, I showed you guys that I get it from my local grocery store. You can also just make it at home by putting chives in your sour cream, but we'll be using that along with some store-bought ranch seasoning to make our ranch. And then we've got some butter, some lemon pepper seasoning, but we're going to be jazzing it up by adding a little bit more lemon to it, along with some fresh cracked black pepper and some lemon juice as well, just to really get those flavors going. A little garlic powder. I'm going to show you guys how to really elevate your lemon pepper from just the regular old seasoning that you get from the store. So yes, those are some of the items that we have here today. I've got one of my large red pots here, one of my Dutch ovens. We'll be using this to fry our corn and our chicken. Here I have a saucepan so that we can make our Cajun butter for our Cajun fried corn nibblers. And I'll also be using the same pot to make our lemon pepper sauce as well. And then we're going to be double frying our chicken. When I've done this previously, I found that frying it for a few minutes, rising up the temperature of the oil and then frying them a second time to get them nice and crispy is really what helps achieve that. So here we have our pan, which we'll be using to rest our chicken on as we elevate the heat of our chicken, or as we elevate the heat of our oil in the meantime. So I see some more people just joined us. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's see. It's just about time to go ahead and get started, so let's get into it. So like I said, first things first, I'm going to show you guys how to break down a whole chicken wing into wingding pieces. So let me move our butter out the way. Here we have 2 whole wings. Like I said, here are other wings that we've already seasoned up. They're sitting ready, waiting to go into our grease. Let me go ahead and get my gloves going. I know I got them right here somewhere. They're in my pocket. Here we go. So this is very simple and easy. I just got done washing my knife, so let me grab that out the sink. So you want to make sure that you got a nice sharp knife. Honestly, if you have a butcher's knife, which is one of those large knives that just look like kind of a hacksaw, that's perfect for this as well. But I've just got my regular old chef's knife, so we're going to make that work. And it works for me every single time, so I have no worries. I know sometimes breaking down a chicken whether that's whole or just the pieces, can be intimidating for some people, but I promise you guys, it is not as hard as it seems by any means. All right, we got our gloves on. I'm gonna go ahead and dry off our knife. So here, I've got a whole wing. What I like to do is take it. I like to grab what's gonna be our drum and what's going to be what we call a flat usually, and snap it until you hear it pop like that. And sometimes you might even see the bone pop out like we just did. So after I snap it, I then like to take my knife, cut it along the skin, and bam, there we have two different pieces. So now we've got a drum and a flat, and whichever one you prefer is up to you, honey. But that's how you get your two pieces. So we're gonna take our second one and do the exact same thing. Like I said, I like to snap it first, then lay it flat out, take my knife, and there we go. So now that we've got our wings and, or not our wings, excuse me, now that we've cut up our wings and we have our drums and our flats, we're gonna go ahead and add these to the rest of our chicken, but we're gonna season them separately because we don't want our chicken that's already seasoned to be overly seasoned. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this homemade Creole seasoning. Like I said, this is just a little bit of salt, pepper, the smallest bit of cayenne, some paprika, and some garlic and onion powder. We're gonna go ahead and season those up. Kind of move them around. You know how we do. We don't want any of our pieces of chicken dry. And one of the greatest lessons I was ever taught by my mother was that whenever you're seasoning your meat, especially when you're doing things like frying chicken, of course you want your batter to be seasoned, but you also want your chicken to be seasoned, because if that batter falls off, you don't want to be left with unseasoned meat. So here is our chicken nice and seasoned up. We're going to add it in to the rest of our chicken that we already have seasoned here. This has been seasoned and kind of marinating for about an hour and some change now. So we're going to set this aside until we're ready for it. I'm also going to go ahead and throw away this container. Let me take off my gloves real quick, and I'll tilt you guys back up and we can get back into the rest of tonight's recipe. All right, so we just broke down our chicken. Like I said, I'm getting ready to throw away my container, so give me just a second to do that, and then we'll get back to the recipe. All right, so our chicken is nice and seasoned. I showed you guys earlier. Here are our corn nibblers. Right here. Here we go. So what it is, like I said, we're going to be double frying our chicken tonight. We're going to start off on a nice low temperature, and then we're going to increase it to go ahead and fry our chicken. But before we do that, we're going to fry our corn first. This is always a great practice. Whenever you have to use, say, a pan, honestly, any kind of cooking utensil or device, and then especially if you're using similar materials like an oil, you want to go ahead and do your vegetables first just for the sake of cross-contamination. And like I said, tonight I'm especially going to do it because I want my corn cooked on a nice lower temperature, as opposed to my wings, which are going to start off on a low temperature and then go to a high. So we're going to turn on, actually, we're going to fill up our pot with our oil first, and tonight we're using just regular old canola oil. So here we go. We're going to fill up our pot. And we've talked a couple of different times about frying. Of course, as everybody knows, we start high and then we go low. But we've also talked about what oils are best for frying and their viscosity. So once again, if you want to be mindful of allergies or dietary restrictions or whatever, I would say stay away from peanut oil because, of course, people have peanut allergies. A great alternative to that is canola or vegetable oil. But peanut oil is always a great option for frying. Oils that have higher viscosities but aren't necessarily always used for frying are things like avocado oil or grapeseed oil. Those are also wonderful options. I see more people have joined us. Welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hi, Miss Jewel. I see you're commenting. You're tuning in with us as always. Always happy to have you. So as you guys saw, I just added in the majority of that bottle of oil into my pot. If you guys can't see, here it is. We're not shallow frying by any means today. Today we are deep frying. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my oil and let that do its thing. And while that is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back over it. And I'll talk to you guys about this butter that we're going to be coating our corn in, which gives it that nice, savory, and kind of sweet Cajun fried flavor that Wingstop is known for having. So, of course, when you use sweet corn, you're going to get sweet flavor. From what I know, sweet corn isn't in season right now. But I say the corn that I got from my local grocery store, it's what they had. I gave it a little taste. It wasn't the sweetest, so I'm going to add a little bit of sugar to my Cajun seasoning. Here, like I said, I have a small pot, which I'm going to go ahead and turn on to a low temperature. And I'm gonna add in a whole stick of butter. To that, I'm then gonna add in some store-bought Cajun seasoning along with a little bit of white sugar, mix that around. And it doesn't take long for this corn to cook. So like I said, once our oil is nice and hot, we're gonna drop our pieces in, shake them up in our butter after we get our mixture going, and then we'll be ready to eat. Well, not quite, but they'll be ready to go. And we'll be keeping those warm in the oven in the meantime. And this is unsalted butter because, like I said, we're using that Cajun seasoning, which does have salt in it. So you want to start off with a nice neutral base. We're using unsalted butter today for both the sauce that we're putting on our Cajun fried corn and also for our lemon pepper sauce that we'll be making later in tonight's recipe. All right. I know for a fact that our oil is not quite heated up yet, and that's perfectly fine. We're gonna leave her be, let her do her thing. And in the meantime, we can start on making our ranch. So here I have a bowl, and like I said, I've got some sour cream with chives added into it. I'm fortunate enough to have a local grocery store that sells it like this, but if you want to, you can just go ahead and add chives to your sour cream. Like I said, I personally love the nice oniony and kind of savory flavor that it adds to homemade ranch whenever I'm making it. So I'm gonna take 2 large spoonfuls of this sour cream and add it into my bowl here. Tilt you guys just down just a little bit. Here I also have some mayonnaise. I know there's always a debate about what kind of mayonnaise you like. This is Hellmann's. If you prefer Duke's, do what you do. That's your business. Go ahead. But I'm gonna add in a little bit of mayonnaise here. And it's just a little bitty thing of it. So I'm not gonna add in too much. And then personally, I know that everybody likes their ranch kind of different. Wingstop ranch, in my personal opinion, is superior, right? But I wasn't trying to make their ranch. I wanted to make a homemade version of it. Just like everything today is going to be reminiscent of it, but it's not going to taste exactly like it. I wanted the ranch to be the exact same way. So here I have about 3 ounces of store-bought ranch seasoning. We're not going to use all of this. Our ranch would be way too salty if we did, but we're going to add in just a little bit. And we're going to season to taste. So we're going to add in this first bit. If it seems like it's not enough, we'll add in a little more later on. If it seems like it's too much, we can always even it out by adding in a little bit more sour cream or mayonnaise. Here I also have some half and half. This is half cream, half milk. And once again, I'm eyeballing this because it's kind of about consistency. Some people like a really loose ranch. Other people like a thicker ranch. It's about your preference. So I'm going to add this in, and as I do so, I'm going to start whipping together my mixture. All right, now that we've got our half and half in there, all right, and then I'm gonna add in a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper. All right, so here's our ranch. Not too thick, not too thin, just the way that I personally like mine. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a taste, see what else it might need. Needs a little more ranch seasoning. All right, and in the meantime, as we're mixing up our ranch, we're gonna go ahead and test our oil, see if it's hot enough. Here we got a little bit of our flour. Our butter's starting to melt down as well. Our oil's not quite hot enough yet, and that's perfectly fine. We'll give that a little bit more time if it needs it. We just added a little bit more ranch seasoning into our homemade ranch for our wings tonight. So let's give this another taste. Now we added in some more seasoning. Perfect. Perfect. I'm going to thin it out just a little more here. Our butter's starting to make a little noise. I'm going to go ahead and keep that temperature nice and low. We'll grab ourselves another whisk here. All right, so like I said, we've got some store-bought Cajun seasoning that we're going to go ahead and add into our butter. Take the lid off and add it in. So we just added in our seasoning, and then like I said, we're going to add in a little bit of sugar to help sweeten up that sweet corn that we've got. All right, so we just wrapped up our ranch, and we just got done making our butter, our Cajun butter for our fried Cajun corn as well. I'm thinning out this ranch just a little bit. We don't want it too thick, we don't want it too thin either. And of course, as we let it sit and kind of marry itself, it'll get just a little bit thicker. And I believe our oil is just about hot enough. So before we add in our corn, we're going to turn it down just a little bit. Awesome. Our ranch is exactly where we want it to be, so we're going to go ahead and set that aside. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and start frying off our corn. So of course, as we've talked about before, you don't wanna add too much into your pan at one time because then it'll bring down the temperature of your oil and also it'll overcrowd it. Your food can get greasy. It's just not a good idea. So I'm going to add these in about 4 pieces at a time, maybe even 5, because they're not very big as you can see. All right, so we just added those in. Here we've got our tongs. We're gonna keep these moving around. Give those a little bit of time to start doing their thing. And in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and check on that butter that we've got going as well. All right, so our butter's good. Our corn is going. Like I said, we had it on a high temperature. We turned it down just a smidgen bit. We're going to turn it back up just a little bit more just to make sure that it's nice and tempered. Like I said, it doesn't take our corn an especially long time to fry. You know it's done when it's got a golden brown look to it. We're going to go ahead, once we take them out the oil, and add them into a container with a bowl so that we can shake them around. And y'all know how when you bite into corn, it's real juicy. It kind of gets all over you, and it might squirt everywhere. That's kind of what it's going to do here in our oil. Some of those kernels are going to burst, and that's perfectly fine because that's letting it know that it's cooking. I see some people just joined us. Welcome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You're watching Afro Cooking Live. Tonight is the first part of our We Have Food at Home series where we're making homemade versions of carry-out and fast foods. Tonight we are making Wingstop. So we're going to do some crispy fried wings. We're currently frying our corn for our Cajun fried corn nibblers. And we just got done making our homemade ranch as well. And it's starting to smell kind of popcorn like, or you know when you grill corn and you can smell it, it's starting to get that smell, which lets me know they're cooking. So we're all good to go. But while we let our corn continue to cook, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what we're seasoning our flour with today. So like I said, we already seasoned our chicken. We're not going to do any wet batter, nothing like that. Just take the seasoned chicken, add it into our mix of flour and cornstarch. So here, like I said, we've got 2 cups of flour, half a cup of cornstarch. We're going to add that into our Ziploc bag. I can hear our corn starting to really make some noise. Alright, so we'll give that a little bit more time. I'm going to get a spoon out here just so I can get all this flour and cornstarch out of this container here. Awesome. So, like I told you guys earlier, we had about 3 ounces of ranch seasoning, part of which we added to our actual ranch that we're going to be eating tonight. But I'm going to be adding the other half, or the remaining half of this ranch seasoning into our seasoned flour. I'm also going to be adding in the rest of that homemade Creole seasoning that we had. And then just for my own personal sake, because I am a fan of it, I'm going to add, excuse me, I'm going to add in just a little bit of lemon pepper as well. So now we're going to close up our bag, get all the air out of there. I like to roll down the top too, just in case the Ziploc has any issues. I'm going to shake it around, make sure it's nice and combined. And we're going to do the exact same thing once we add our chicken in too. This is exactly how it's going to look when we're seasoning our chicken before we add it into our grease. Alright, so our flour is seasoned. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's got a little bit more color to it there. Excuse me. Some of that seasoning has got me coughing and sneezing a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and take this first batch of corn out of the grease, put it on a paper towel lined sheet so that it can drain itself. And as we take these out, we're going to put a few more in. Like I said, I'm doing about 5 at a time. I just took out 3. I'm going to add in 4. Here's our 5th piece for this next batch of corn we got frying up. Excuse me. Like I said, that Creole seasoning, that little bit of cayenne that we put in there, or even that paprika and some of that black pepper too will get you. Give me just a moment as I wash my hands. Also, y'all, I don't know about you, but it's allergy season. My nose has been stuffed up all week, so I'm not gonna lie, the chance to sneeze kind of feels good because I've been trying to, but I've been real stuffed up about the nose. So just to show you guys what that Cajun butter that we're going to be coating our corn in looks like. Like I said, we took 1 whole stick of unsalted butter. To give you guys a better look at it, added in some Cajun seasoning, which is pretty much the same ingredients as our Creole seasoning, but just got a little more spice to it. And then we also added in some white sugar to help bring out some of that sweetness that corn naturally has. And we've already got our oven set to a keep warm temperature, so we're good to go. Once we get these coated and that nice Cajun butter, we'll be putting it in the oven to keep warm. And as we fry our chicken, we might sample a piece or two just to make sure they've got everything they need. So we've got a few more pieces of corn here. We've got about, what is this? I think like 8 more pieces. So I'm probably going to just divvy up these last 2 groups into groups of 4. The second batch of corn is just about ready to come out here. And when I cut up my corn, I was sure to cut off both ends just because you never really want to eat that kind of stuff. Once again, as I take those out, putting in some more. Alright, so for these last 2 pieces of corn, we're going to go ahead, stick our lid on them, kind of leave them alone, let them do their thing. And like I said, we've got about 4 more pieces that we're going to do. But in the meantime, I'm going to start coating some of these pieces that we already have. So here, I've got a little bowl, came with a lid. I got this from the store earlier this week. I thought it was so convenient just because it's technically just Tupperware. But it was like, oh, this is meant for like prep. And I was like, ah, I love it. So I'm going to take a couple of pieces of our corn here. Alright, so we've got a few pieces in our bowl. Here's what they look like now that they're done frying. I'm gonna add some of this butter to it. Go ahead and put my lid on it and shake it up. I tell you what, you guys, we're gonna be getting our workout in today. We're doing a lot of shaking. We're shaking up our chicken, we're shaking up our corn. Here's what it looks like. I think our corn that we currently got going is making some noise. Let's see if it's ready. Yep. Now we're going to add in our last 4 pieces here. Put our lid back on. Like I said, here are the pieces that we just shook up. What I'm going to do is add a little bit more butter, probably about half this stick, and it's all right because we've got butter to spare, so that we can have enough for the rest of our pieces. Of course, we want to keep our surface nice and clean, and we don't want to start in the grease fire, so we're going to clean up around here a little bit as our last batch of corn is going. And while that corn is going, I'm actually going to turn our fire down just a little bit, because after we take that corn out, we're immediately going to go ahead and drop that chicken in. So as we prepare to put our chicken in our grease, we're going to go ahead and start coating a few of these pieces in this seasoned flour that we have here. And much like with our corn, I think I'm going to maybe do about 4 pieces at a time. Get a couple of drums in here. There we go. Seems like we might have sprung a bit of a leak in our bag, and that's okay. Like I said, that's why we fold it down, to make sure that we don't encounter any issues or make too much of a mess, I should say. Let me go ahead and take this corn out, you guys, because I know for a fact that it's ready to go. All right, so we've got all of our corn fried. And like I said, we just coated a couple pieces of chicken. So we've already turned our fire down. It should be good and ready to go. Our chicken's been seasoned. We just put it in our seasoned flour. This is a mix, once again, of 2 cups of regular flour and half a cup of cornstarch. Go ahead and drop that chicken in. Like I said, we're double frying it to make sure it's nice and crispy. So We're going to let it get a little brown, but we don't want it too brown. Y'all hear how that oil kind of just calmed down, just soothed itself out? There we go. And that additional butter that we added into our Cajun butter is just about done cooking, which is perfect because all of our corn is done as well, so we can go ahead and coat it. I'm going to turn that off. Move one of our pieces of chicken so that's fully submerged in our oil. And I'm going to give those, I'd say maybe about 4, no more than 6 minutes. As those go ahead and do their thing, I'm going to grab another Ziploc bag. I believe somehow we sprung a hole, y'all. I don't know, but we don't want to make a mess, so I'm going to grab another one. Give me just a second. All right, so we've got our other bag. Like I said, our corn is done, so is our Cajun butter. We're going to add some more pieces of this corn into our container so we can shake them up. Add in some of this butter. And I like to mix it as I'm pouring it over just to make sure I got all that goodness. Where did I let it go? Here it is. It's underneath our new Ziploc bag that we had. Like I said, lid secure. All right. We got our corn coated. We're going to add it into our pan here. And then we're going to do these last few pieces of corn that we've got. Add in the last of this butter. Make sure our lid's nice and secure on there. Add the rest of our corn and that butter on there, and we're going to stick these in the oven so that they can just keep warm. As we stick those in, I'm going to wash my hands real quick and check on our first batch of chicken wings. Clean up around here just a smidgen bit. Here we go. All right, let's see how this chicken is looking. Awesome. So in the meantime, like I said, we're going to put our bag of flour in another bag because we sprung a small leak, and that's perfectly fine. And as we put that in there, we're gonna drop in 4 more pieces of flour because it's just about time for these first 4 pieces of chicken that we put in to come on out. Like I said, we're doing lots of shaking today. So if y'all looking at for a meal that's gonna help you get your workout in, help you work those arms, this is definitely it. All right, let's go ahead and pull these wings. All right, so we just pulled those first 4 wings. We're gonna go ahead and drop this next batch. And I would like to beat the excess flour off. After these wings are done, we're probably going to do another 4, and then we're going to increase that heat, put them in, they'll be good to go. But in the meantime, I told you guys I was going to show you how to elevate your lemon pepper. So let me wash out this container, and then I'll show you guys how to make what I, in my personal opinion, feel like it's probably some of the best lemon pepper sauce or seasoning I've ever had. All right, so we're gonna go ahead, put that same saucepan back on our stove. Let me grab my lemon juice out the fridge. Now for this recipe, we'll be using the juice and the zest of a fresh lemon, but just to increase that flavor, I like a little bit of additional lemon juice, and there's nothing wrong with store-bought in my opinion, so we'll be using a little bit of that today too. next batch of wings that we just put in has been taken out. So now we're gonna do these last 4. And we've got plenty of wings left over, but this is all we're gonna do today, y'all. We'll do the others later. So to my saucepan, I just added in 1.5 sticks of butter. Like we talked about, tapping off that excess flour. Drop it in that grease. And here's the last piece we're going to do. And we're going to go ahead and stick the lid on that. Let those do their thing. Wash off my hands. Hey, I see some people just joined us. Welcome, you guys are tuning in to Afro Cooking Live. Tonight we are doing the first part of our We've Got Food at Home series, and tonight we are making Wingstop. So we've already made our Cajun fried corn nibblers. Those are in the oven, keeping warm. We're frying up our wings now. Tonight we're double frying our wings so they can be nice and crispy. So we're doing our first round of frying where it's nice and it's at a lower temperature, and then we're going to go ahead and turn that heat up, fry our wings, get them nice and crispy. And we're also currently making our lemon pepper sauce to go on our wings. So we just added our butter into our pan. Go ahead and grab our whisk and rinse this off. We've got our butter melting down. All right, y'all know I'm usually a kind of eyeball it kind of girl, but for this part, we're actually going to measure it out. So we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of lemon pepper. And I would like to measure above my pot just in case if it overflows, at least the flavor is going into what we're making. All right, so there's our 2 tablespoons of lemon pepper. I'm going to go ahead and mix those in. All right, so we've added our lemon pepper here. We have 1 whole lemon. We're gonna go ahead and take off a little bit of this, what am I trying to say? We're gonna grate some of the peel into our lemon pepper, which is gonna add a nice fresh flavor. Go ahead and take our sticker off as well as we peel this, or not peel it, but get to this peel grated into here. And we're going to go ahead and check on our chicken wings as well. See how these are coming along. Lid's a little hot, so we're going to take a towel. All right, so now that we've taken out our chicken, we're gonna go ahead and increase our heat by just a little bit. And as that heats up, we're gonna go back to working on our lemon pepper sauce. So we just grated in part of our lemon. Now I'm gonna go ahead and cut it in half, squeeze in some of this fresh juice. To that, I'm then going to add in a little bit of garlic powder. And then lastly, I'll be putting in some black pepper as well. Like I said, just really elevate that lemon pepper seasoning. Using this store-bought is perfectly fine. Honestly, I like lemon pepper best when you add just the sprinkles. But if we're gonna do lemon pepper sauce or lemon pepper as the flavor of the wings, nah, you gotta elevate it. And then last, like I said, just a little bit of black pepper. All right, so our fire is low. We're gonna let our sauce go. We've added everything that we need to into it. Now it is time to add our chicken wings back into our oil, which we have turned up in temperature. So the wings that we took out first are the wings that we're adding back in first. And you can hear as soon as they hit the grease, they are ready to go back in there. So we're good. Keep that nice and tempered. And in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and clean up just a little bit, not too much. So we've got our ranch here from earlier. Here it is, perfectly smooth. For anybody who just might be joining us, we also made some homemade ranch to go with our wings tonight. So we've got that ready to go. It's been sitting there waiting. And what I love about kind of the fact that we made our ranch first is that in that seasoning, of course, you've got some dried parsley, dill, chives, things like that, and letting it sit kind of gives it a chance to rehydrate some of those herbs in there so that they're not so hard and everything is just nice and smooth and creamy like we want. So we've got our ranch there. Add some of these ingredients that go back in the fridge. Oh, excuse me. All this seasoning got me sneezing. I see somebody just commented. Let's see what you guys are asking about or talking about in the comments. Oh, thank you very much. Like I had mentioned earlier, like I said, all this seasoning in here for our chicken has got me sneezing a little bit. And of course, allergy season is upon us. So I don't know about anybody else, but my nose has been going through it all week long. Go ahead and freshly line our pan here with some new paper towels. Hey, I see some more people just joined us. Welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. You're watching Afro Cooking Live. We are just about wrapping up our wings for tonight. We are doing the first part of our We Have Food at Home series, which is where we are making homemade versions of very famous takeout and fast food chains. Tonight we're doing Wingstop. Ooh, do y'all see what I mean when I say nice and crispy but not quite battered? Perfection. So I'm going to go ahead and add in some more of our other wings. Like I said, this is our second time frying. We increase that heat. So here's what our first four wings are looking like. Nice and beautiful and golden. Not quite battered, but still very crispy. I'm gonna wait till these next four are done, and then we're gonna go ahead and shake them up, and we'll be ready to eat y'all. Ooh, yes, please. Share some pictures with us here at the Afro of your fried wings. We would love to see what they look like. And as we're getting ready to eat y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this corn out the oven. It's been in here keeping warm, patiently waiting to be devoured. Give our chicken a little bit more time. It's almost time to eat. Super duper excited, y'all. In the meantime, but I'm gonna grab a plate. I'm gonna put a little bit of this corn on here. Got myself a little bit of corn. I'm gonna Get myself a little side serving of this ranch that we made. We've got our ranch. Like I said, I'm waiting for these last 4 wings, or these additional 4 wings to come on out so we can get them sauced up. And before we sauce up these wings, we're going to add in these last 4 pieces. Let those cook while we're getting into dinner. Put the lid on it. Turn it down just a smidgen. All right. So here we got our 8 wings. I don't know how much an 8 piece usually would be at Wingstop, but I promise you it was a lot cheaper, and it was made with a lot more love here at home. We're going to go ahead and add these into another bowl, just like we did earlier with our corn. This is a larger one because, of course, our wings are just a little bit bigger than our corn pieces were. We've got our lemon pepper sauce, like we talked about before. I personally like to mix mine together. Excuse me. As I'm pouring it over my food, get all those flavorful bits in there. Put our lid on. Make sure it's nice and secure because we don't want any issues. Give them a good mix. Here we go, y'all. It's time to eat. It's go time. Set this chicken aside. Here we go. We got Wingstop at the house. We have our Cajun fried corn nibblers, our homemade ranch, and our lemon pepper wings that we double fried. Oh, I'm so excited. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, first things first, I want to try this corn. The first time I had Wingstop's Cajun fried corn, I was blown away because it was so good. It's got that spiciness, that savoriness, but most importantly, that sweetness. Anybody who has had their corn bites, though, know that you have to try it with the ranch. The ranch takes it to a whole new level. Let's see. Y'all, I made a mistake and grabbed the wrong thing. That was not ranch. I'm so glad I did my corn to that instead of my chicken. That was the additional sugar we had used to season our corn with. Let's try it in the ranch. This is the ranch. Yes, it is always so much better with ranch. Those are so good. Before we try our wings, I hear the ones that we've got in the grease making a little bit of noise and I want them to burn. Let me take these out the oil real quick, y'all. All right. We're going to leave those in the back to cool. We'll put our lid back on there. And we're going to return to our chicken and try these out. So like I said, we seasoned these up with some homemade lemon pepper sauce. I personally am a flats kind of girl. Ooh, these are hot. But we knew that though. Oof. A task is trying not to burn myself as I'm trying to get into these. Bear with me, y'all. Oof. I'm gonna just try this little piece first. They're very hot. Mmm. Even that little bite I just had. Super flavorful. Oof. Okay, let's get into it, y'all, if we can. These are hot, and I don't want to burn myself. Mmm. I don't know if y'all can hear the crunch as I'm eating it, but these are so crispy. Oof. Delicious. Adding in that lemon zest, that extra lemon juice, that little bit of garlic powder really just elevated our lemon pepper sauce to the next level. Super good. Our ranch is just nice and savory and creamy like a ranch should be. And our corn is absolutely delicious. I'm not gonna lie. Wingstop's corn nibblers are huge. But I couldn't find huge pieces of corn because corn isn't in season right now. But for what we had, these were so good. All right, y'all. We are good and past our usual time. Let me go ahead and hop off out of here, but hold on. You know I gotta thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Afro Cooking Live. If you don't already, what are you doing? Go ahead and follow us here on Facebook at Afro American Newspaper. And you can follow us on every other social media platform at Afro News. If you like this recipe, please let us know. We would love to get your feedback. You can comment. You can make your own interpretation of the recipe. You can share it with us. We are open to all feedback. We love to know what you think. We do this every single Thursday. Okay, so y'all be sure to go ahead and follow us and tune in next week. We'll be back with another recipe. Like I said, this is the first part of our We Got Food at Home series. So we'll be making lots of different things that you love to get in the restaurant, but you can make at home, which means that you can interpret it a bunch of different ways. You can add your own special ingredients to it, and it might just be a little bit cheaper. All right, prices of things are going up, so making things at home can be a lot more convenient for people as opposed to eating out. But I'm going to go ahead and finish tearing up these wings. I'm going to get cleaned up, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.